horses came up, and the posse came up, the state troopers came up, the police department came up and started beating us. And I stood up there. Then finally I fell. I fell when the posse or whoever it was hit me, and it was below my shoulder. And I looked at him like I thought he was crazy. And he said, "Run." Then he hit me back of my neck, and I was unconscious. And I didn't know what happened because I was unconscious. I understand from some of the people, more than one, that I stayed there so long, everybody had run or hid. They said to Jim Clark, who was the sheriff, "There's somebody dead over there."
Mom, we're almost out of food again.
I know, babe.
Sometimes you can hear my mom through the walls crying.
That's all that's left.
It makes me want to cry.
United Nations figures reveal that currently in Niger, 900,000 children under the age of 2 are at risk of serious malnutrition. Yet for all the good this centre does, it can't help everyone.
Los Angeles policeman already indicted in the Rodney King beating, the county grand jury signaled that will be the extent of the criminal case. 17 other so-called police bystanders at the beating scene will not be indicted, a development noted with frustration.
Imagine a fully loaded jumbo jet with 220 passengers and crew taking off and crashing today. And the same thing happened every day next week, and every day next month, and every day for the rest of the year. That's exactly what is occurring when we say there are racial disparities in health in the United States. Over 200 black people dying prematurely every single day.
I'm tired, boss.
John Coffey. Electricity shall now be passed through your body until you are dead, in accordance with state law. May God have mercy on your soul.
Guns. You see them there. They were seized in this gang takedown. But before today's sweeping indictment was announced against members of two violent street gangs, our own Lisa Evers was embedded with the operation as NYPD detectives rounded up the suspects. And she is here now to bring us this Fox 5 exclusive. Lisa, take it away.
Well, Chris, this long-term investigation began with the murder of a promising teen basketball player. Now, nearly 4 years later, NYPD detectives tell us they have dismantled two rival gangs who terrorized South Jamaica residents with reckless gunfire, using drill music videos and social media to fuel their beefs. We got an exclusive look at their focused methods, which are very different from the wide net gang sweeps of the past. Some of the more than 30 suspects were already behind bars in state prison and on Rikers Island for other crimes. They were brought into the 111th precinct to be charged in this major gang conspiracy case. So serious were the safety concerns about the explosive rivalry between the crews known as Money World and their opposition, or Ops, the local trap stars, that police booked them at separate precincts to keep their family members and associates separated when they showed up.
It's pretty much shoot on sight when they see the opposition, and a lot of times innocent people are caught in the middle of it.
Over the last 5 or 6 years, these two gangs terrorized an entire community.
Before sunrise, more than 150 NYPD detectives and supervisors assembled for the takedown of the alleged gang members. Most are between the ages of 18 to 22 and have been arrested before.
New research finds class matters a lot less in America when it comes to economic mobility for black males. Income inequality is often cited as an important factor in holding people back. But a new analysis suggests black boys and black men face economic disadvantages even if they start off from a similar point of income and wealth as their white counterparts. Yamiche El-Sindor is back with our conversation.
A new study released this week underscores just how big a gap African-American males face when it comes to moving up the economic ladder. Some of the findings are dramatic. White boys who grow up in rich households are likely to remain that way. Black boys who are also raised at the top are more likely to become poor instead of staying wealthy in their own adult households. Black boys fare worse than white boys in 99% of America, even when children grow up next to each other with parents who earn similar incomes.
Eliza. Stop! Stop, you're wailing. You let yourself be overcome by sorrow, you will drown in it.
Have you stopped crying for your children? You make no sounds, but will you ever let them go in your heart?
They are as my flesh.
Then who is distressed? Do I upset the master and the mistress? Do you care less about my loss than their well-being?
Master Ford is a decent man.
He is a slaver.
Under the circumstances.
Under the circumstances, he's a slaver. Will you truckle at his boot? No. You luxuriate in his favor.
I survive. I will not fall into despair. I will offer up my talents to Master Ford. I will keep myself hardy till freedom is opportune.
After these countries gained independence in the 1960s, they still maintained strong political and economic relations with France. Europe has tried to paint its continued relationship with its former colonies as an altruistic move since Africans were building their nations from scratch. However, the reality is that African nations had been looted and robbed of their natural resources by these colonial powers. Before colonialism, Africa was rich with natural resources and trade. After the theft of colonialism, they were beginning at a deficit, with the odds stacked against them. West Africa had trading systems which had developed over hundreds of years before the French arrived in Africa. Gold was the main commodity, hence the term the Gold Coast. When Europeans arrived, they introduced the slave trade that depleted the population through slave raids. They also destabilized gold mining because the communities found it unsafe to mine their lands for fear of attacks. This started the unequal relationship that has continued through the colonial era and lasts to this day. European policies have destabilized the continent from the very beginning. When the slave trade was abolished, Europe also started importing raw materials such as cotton from Africa. Cotton was labor-intensive, and Africa had a surplus of cheap labor. One of the ironies of the colonial era was that Africa's largest export was raw cotton, whilst its largest import was manufactured cotton. Through this paradigm, Europe made sure Africa did not develop a manufacturing ability, so they had to keep buying European goods. This trade model also provided manufacturing jobs for Europeans abroad. Europe made sure Africans provided cheap labor by introducing mandatory taxes in their colonies. Africans' only access to European currency was through the wages they were paid at European farms. These farms had been acquired by stealing land from Africans and resettling them in crowded and unproductive settlements.
In the early 19th century, the port of Havana, Cuba was the capital of the most profitable traffic of the Western world, slavery. Once freed black men and women were brutally seized from their homes and families on the dark continent and chained like wild beasts in the filthy holds of slave ships, condemned to be chattel. Slavery was legal and slaves were valuable merchandise. Even the royal families of Europe derived thousands of pounds from their investments in the slave trade. Only the strongest of the black captives survived the long and perilous voyage across the Atlantic. We marched to Havana's great slave market. These once proud people, some of them kings and princes in their own land, were felt by avaricious hand and auctioned off to the wealthy Cuban landowners to tend the vast sugar and tobacco fields and breed more slaves.
American slavery, it tore families apart, mothers from children, husbands from wives. When slavery ended at the end of the Civil War, former slaves began searching for their loved ones by placing, quite frankly, heartbreaking ads in the newspapers like the Christian Recorder and other publications. Now, through a partnership between Villanova University and Mother Bethel AME Church, these ads are being gathered and digitized, giving genealogists a new tool to connect families and their stories.
Chicagoans say it is difficult to watch leaders suddenly come up with $51 million for new immigrants when Chicago neighborhoods remain underserved.
It should not be housed in impoverished and marginalized black and brown communities where we have food shortages and homelessness.
I don't know if you've actually talked to these refugees who come here, but what they need are homes and jobs, the same that the people who live here need as well.
How dare this mayor and city council have the guts to give migrants $51 million. I demand you to have the same passion and urgency to pass the City of Chicago reparations order.
Is it because I'm black, says Bryce Dosa, outraged after police stopped him last week? He was walking to his car in a Montreal Mall parking lot when plain-clothed officers handcuffed him. Police said they thought his car was stolen after seeing marks around the keyhole. CBC News has confirmed the car is new and there are no marks. You handcuffed me and you don't even have the keys, he says. Police verified it was his vehicle, but Dosa says they didn't have the key to release him. More officers arrived 15 minutes later, and the handcuffs were removed.
I feel traumatized
I feel traumatized. I feel that I've been humiliated. I've been humiliated, and this is a discrimination.
Dosa came here 3 years ago from Benin and works as an orderly.
I'm scared of police now because they can do anything. I don't trust the police anymore.